Hey everybody, good evening and welcome into To The Point. We all had a great weekend. We are here live to react to everything that happened over the sports weekend. We have lots to chat about. I can't wait to do it with you all here today. I mean, today is such a bittersweet day. It's positive and it's negative because football is over. Football is so important to me, and I know it's so important to a lot of you out there. Takes up your Sundays. You don't have to go to a family dinner or pumpkin patch or a walk down an icy road. You have the built-in excuse. Football's on today. And unfortunately for every predominantly male out there, that excuse is over, although golf is in full swing. And it's been pretty good, in particular this weekend, which we will talk about later on in the show. What we got today, we're going to discuss Nick Taylor winning at the Waste Management and how crazy that was in another great tournament. And Tiger Woods will be on a golf course in less than 3 days at his home course at Riviera. So you have that to look forward to. We're going to talk about Morgan Reilly and his decision on Saturday night with the Toronto Maple Leafs. The Maple Leafs turning into the bad boys of the NHL, if you will. Going to get to his decision, what happened there. But we have to start where I think, I went to a Super Bowl watch party of sorts. There was 4 of us and Dirk. So say 5 because Dirk is family, mascot of To The Point. But I went and watched the game with 4 different people. And that's more people I've watched the Super Bowl with in like the last 5 years. I normally watch it by myself because I can mute the game. Occasionally I mute the halftime show, which I wish I did last night, but at least I got to witness whatever the hell that was. But I'm watching the game, and what I find so interesting, seeing Twitter, seeing the people that I watched the game with last night, the visceral reaction to seeing Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs win yet another Super Bowl. His 3rd Super Bowl in 4 years, his 3rd Super Bowl MVP, which ties him, with Brady and Joe Montana. Just pretty incredible. He's, after his first 6 seasons, he's the best quarterback in league history. And that's not an opinion, that's a fact, by the way. You might say, well, how is that a fact? Here are some numbers just to put this into perspective, because I know sometimes it can be difficult when you're talking about Brady. Before turning 30, playoff careers, Tom Brady, 3,217 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 3 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. Mahomes, 5,200 yards passing, 41 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3 Super Bowls, 3 Super Bowl MVPs. The best start to a career in league history. He's phenomenal. But people hate Patrick Mahomes. People hate the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm thinking back to my childhood. I didn't like Tom Brady and Bill Belichick and the Patriots because I thought I had a good reason back then when I cared about teams. Patriots were cheaters. They cheated to win. Deflategate, Spygate, and what else? They cheated every other year to win a championship. Plus, Belichick had the personality of my left ass cheek, and Tom Brady was not much better. But they won. And I could always appreciate the greatness of Tom Brady and the New England Patriots. But seeing the Chiefs, people hate the Chiefs, hate the Taylor Swift angle, hate Travis Kelce after what he did to Andy Reid last night, which I don't blame them, by the way. It's something else because I don't think it's really possible. They were not the favorite team last night in Vegas. They were getting booed a lot. It was mostly 49ers fans. But they found a way. But I just find that interesting. From Mahomes, who his family's a mess. His wife's in Sports Illustrated, which, good for her. I have no problem with that, whoever Sports Illustrated wants to put in. She had some problems early in her life. I think she's settled in. But was she problematic early on into his NFL career? Yes. And I think if you look at her history and you come up with a different conclusion, you're just flatly wrong. Jackson Mahomes, his brother, arrested multiple times, accused of sexual, indecency with women. He looks like a complete nightmare every time you see him. He's got his issues. Patrick Mahomes Sr., 3 DUIs in the last 18 months. DUI a week before his son's playing in his 4th Super Bowl. Through all of that adversity, Mahomes has never had anything go bad. Seems to be a good father. 2 kids. And yet he's hated. Hated. And I really don't get it. My only conclusion has to be that greatness just isn't appreciated. Fan bases are so jealous of Mahomes' success. I mean, I'm watching a game with Patriots fans last night. They hate Mahomes. I'm sure they'd rather see Josh Allen win. Which Josh Allen plays in the AFC East. I don't get it. Would Brock Purdy winning a Super Bowl be a great story? Sure. Mr. Irrelevant, Debo, they got a lot of veterans on that team. But then you have Kyle Shanahan, who's the son of Mike Shanahan, who, you could argue he's a nepotism coaching hire because his dad was so good for a long time, Super Bowl winning head coach, unlike Kyle. He's not given people love him. Love Kyle Shanahan. I just found that interesting off the top. I don't love seeing Taylor Swift 100 times a game. I don't. It's unnecessary, but it happens. And I saw she was on the screen a total of 54 seconds last night. Which also I found hard to believe because you could bet on how many times she came on the screen. It was 5.5. I think it ended at 11 or 12. So they must have been quick clips. We saw the Chiefs box with her and Blake Lively, who looked lovely, per usual. Ice Spice, I believe. No clue who that is. But apparently she's famous. Post Malone was at there. I saw him. He might have been in the box. Jason and his wife. So you have all the celebs in the Chiefs box. Maybe it's, again, jealousy piled on. But as we pivot to the game, Patrick Mahomes wins his 3rd Super Bowl. Wins his 3rd Super Bowl MVP. They came back from 10 down in the first Super Bowl against San Francisco. They come back from 10 down last night. He's proven you cannot bet against Patrick Mahomes. If you do, he will make you pay. Friday we talked about it. I bet on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs plus 2.5. They were underdogs in Buffalo, in Baltimore, in a neutral site. They lost a football game to the New York Jets. They lost a football game to the Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas Day. They were truly dreadful down the stretch. Patrick Mahomes was not in the MVP conversation. Travis Kelce had a meh season. Their offensive line had its issues, and yet they overcome it all. They still find a way to be the best team in the sport and win the Super Bowl. This year, more than ever for me, Kansas City won because of coaching. Last night's defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo became the first coordinator in NFL history to win 4 Super Bowl championships. 4 of them. You think of what he's accomplished. He kept Tom Brady to 14 points in the Super Bowl in 2007 when the New England Patriots were undefeated. Brady throwing 5,000 yards, Randy Moss catching 20 touchdowns. They could only put up 14 points on Spags and that Giants defense led by Mr. Gap himself, Michael Strahan. He then moves to the Chiefs with Andy Reid, where they take down Jimmy Garoppolo. They take down Jalen Hurts in a high-scoring affair. And last night, he was phenomenal calling the game, defeating Brock Purdy. But the only coordinator in NFL history with 4, I repeat, 4 Super Bowls. He maximized what he had on the defensive side of the ball, and that's where the Chiefs' strength was. Chris Jones was phenomenal last night. Trent McDuffie might have been the best player on the field. He was all over it. He had 1 penalty in overtime, but the rest of the game, he was great. Made big plays, great coverage on Ayuk. He had a great blitz where they forced a field goal late in the 4th quarter, where Jake Moody had to come out and make another long field goal. But he was great. Seeing the whole game that San Francisco was trying to find their footing. Are we going to run the football? Are we a passing team? Are we taking shots down the field? While they had a 10-point lead, they could have had a bigger lead at halftime, and they didn't let it grow. They couldn't do anything with it. They get an interception off Mahomes to start the second half, and yet they don't capitalize. It's a 3-and-out. Taking a sack at an inopportune time. They just eliminated opportunities for San Francisco to put their stamp on the game. Spags and Andy Reid this year worked this out. Found a way to make it happen. While you look at the other side of the field, pardon me. Kyle Shanahan had a 28-3 lead against the Patriots. He was the OC, not the head coach, but he did have the lead in that game. They lost. He had a 10-point lead against the Rams in 2021 in the NFC Championship game. They lost. He had a 10-point lead in the Super Bowl against Kansas City the first time around with porn star Jimmy. They lost. He had a 10-point lead against Kansas City last night. He loses once again in overtime. To me, as the game goes longer, he gets worse as a coach. They were running the football effectively all game, and they wanted to go away from it. I don't know if they wanted Brock Purdy to be the MVP. They wanted him to have that moment, for him to be the hero, but it was stupid to me. Brock Purdy threw the ball 38 times. San Francisco only ran the ball 31 times. Christian McCaffrey was averaging almost 4 yards a rush. Brock Purdy, a couple scrambles. Give the ball to Debo. They went away from it. Let's try to find guys on the field. You have McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed, who were great in coverage, who didn't allow anything to happen. So his game plan, the decision to not go for it at the end of the fourth quarter, settling for the field goal where you know you're going to give 2 minutes to Patrick Mahomes to get on the field and kick a field goal, that's going to happen all day, every day. Takes the ball first in overtime, you drive the ball down and you kick a field goal again, giving another chance for Mahomes to beat you. I think you have to go for the jugular. You have to go for the touchdown there because at the very worst, you don't convert. They're stuck inside their own 10 and you have a better chance of winning. Maybe you get a safety. Maybe something crazy happens and you find a way to win. But giving the ball back to Patrick Mahomes and expecting him not to throw a touchdown pass in overtime in the clutch moment is just pure stupidity. And expecting Brock Purdy to be better in the clutch moments than Patrick Mahomes is just as stupid. Because Mahomes is the best quarterback to ever play the sport. Purdy's a fine kid. Mr. Irrelevant, above average quarterback, was in the MVP conversation. And I thought overall he played pretty well last night. Made some big throws, evaded the pocket, was solid, did not turn the ball over. McCaffrey did. His special teams tried to fuck him a bunch of times, but he didn't do it himself. Mahomes threw an interception. Brock Purdy was rock solid all night. I just think some of the scheming decisions, the fact that George Kittle did not get a reception until the fourth quarter is mind-boggling to me. He's a weapon. Use him against the linebackers. Seeing what Kansas City, they're going to blitz. They're going to put the pressure. McDuffie did it multiple times in the game. And San Francisco did not have a plan for it. So to me, Kyle Shanahan's a great coach that just can't finish. And to be fair to Kyle, that was Andy Reid for a long time. Andy Reid getting to Super Bowls with Philadelphia when Donovan McNabb and Terrell Owens and the great Brian Hawkins. And they got close, but they lose to the Patriots. They lose in the NFC Championship game, and Andy Reid was in Philadelphia for over 10 years. But they never could get over the hump. He gets to Kansas City, pairs himself with Brett Veach, a great GM, and they get a kid named Patrick Mahomes out of Texas Tech, and it changes your life. Since the move, Andy Reid has won 3 Super Bowls. You know, only looking at Belichick and a few others to catch when it comes to most Super Bowls ever by a head coach. I look at him last night, the fact that Mecole Hardman, who was a member of the New York Jets, who was let go. The Jets were healthy scratching him. They didn't want him. They traded him back to Kansas City for a bag of marbles. AFC divisional game, he fumbles twice. And yet he catches a 50-yard pass in the first half, and then he catches the game-winning touchdown to seal it. That's Andy Reid stuff right there. Putting the trust in Mecole Hardman. It was Kadarius Toney last year. Toney caught a touchdown pass in the Super Bowl. He's not trusted. He makes a mistake every other game. A boneheaded decision. And yet he's on the field in the critical moments and he comes up with a big play. Mecole Hardman, same thing last night. I just think Mahomes is just a special, special talent. So great. And the fact that you trade Tyreek Hill and 3 years later you've won 2 Super Bowls and you've been in the AFC Championship game all 3 years and the Dolphins haven't won a playoff game? Think about that. Tyreek Hill, who's led the NFL in receiving the last 2 years. Great player, Pro Bowler, All Pro, likely going to Canton at the end of his career. Kansas City lets him go and they win 2 out of 3 Super Bowls. With Rashee Rice and Noah Gray and Marquez Valdez-Scantling, who also caught a touchdown pass last night, who's got 2 rings all of a sudden. I mean, it's quite crazy. They found a way. For San Francisco, you still have Brock Purdy at a cheap number, so you have that advantage going into next year. Debo still under contract. Fred Warner under contract. Trent Williams says he's coming back. McCaffrey still under contract. Ayuk they have to deal with. Did they lose Juwan Jennings, who I think would have been Super Bowl MVP if San Francisco would have pulled it off last night, which is crazy. But they're going to have a similar team. I believe late last night they were the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl in 2025. If anybody's wondering, early Super Bowl odds, they were the favorite. Same cast of characters. I mean, you're an overtime away from winning this year. But I'll find that for you here. NFL 2025 future Super Bowl winner San Francisco. Best odds right now. You can get them at plus 500 on FanDuel Sportsbook. So San Francisco will have a great team again, in all likelihood. 3 straight at least championship games for San Francisco. They've been very consistent, just like Kansas City has been in the AFC. They are rivals. It's one-sided because they haven't won any of these big games, but there is a rivalry there. What I think is frustrating for Kyle Shanahan, when they lost with Jimmy Garoppolo, Kansas City was the better team. And Kansas City should have won that game, and they did. I don't think San Francisco can look at themselves in the mirror and think we were the less talented team, because they weren't. Bosa, Chase Young, Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Fred Warner, Debo, Purdy, Ayuk, Kittle, Juszczyk. They're a loaded bunch. And yet they can't beat a Kansas City team that lost to the Raiders and the Jets. Kansas City lost pieces last year, and it hurt them, but yet they still won the Super Bowl. This year, they got to make a decision on Chris Jones, who was great again last night, and he's great in just seemingly on third down in the fourth quarter, he comes to play. L'Jarius Sneed's going to be a free agent on defense, who I think is very good. MVS, Kelsey says he's coming back. He wants the three-peat, so he's not retiring. And here's an early prediction. I don't think Jason Kelsey's going to retire either, because I think they want to go into Canton together. Would Kelsey desert the Eagles for the Chiefs? No, because Creed Humphrey's a pretty good center, so that's not going to work. But does he go back to the Eagles one last kick at the can? Reportedly, he's interviewed with ESPN and become an analyst. But 1 year wouldn't kill his popularity. Another season of the New Heights podcast, and who knows, maybe Taylor and Travis are still dating by the time of next season. I doubt it, but maybe. But Kansas City will lose some people. When you win, you lose pieces. Your team gets worse. But yet somehow they find a way. They lost Orlando Brown Jr. at left tackle, and they found a way to overcome it. Joe Thuney, an all-pro guard, didn't play in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl. They win. When you got 15, you got a puncher's chance. Simple as that. thinking of the year, Lamar Jackson takes home the MVP award, which he deserved. It was almost unanimous, but one person voted for Josh Allen. To me, Brock Purdy is more of an MVP than Josh Allen, but I've talked about this a lot. I don't need to kick a dead horse, but I find that completely stupid. CJ Stroud wins Offensive Rookie of the Year. Nice, deservedly so. Myles Garrett wins Defensive Player of the Year. I think it should have been TJ Watt, personally. Both were great. Both had great defenses. Both were on teams that probably shouldn't have been playoff teams, but they were in large part because of their contributions, because the offense weren't any good. CJ Stroud's teammate Will Anderson Jr. III wins Defensive Rookie of the Year. Again, no problem. Kevin Stefanski wins Coach of the Year. Surprised me a bit. I thought it would be in Houston. To me, Stefanski lost head-to-head to the Texans in the playoffs. Like, why would... I get it's a regular season award, but Houston winning the division... Cleveland didn't win the division. D'Amico Ryans takes a team that had 4 wins, comes up with an offensive rookie, defensive rookie of the year, win the division against the Colts, and the Jaguars for that matter. Go beat Cleveland in a playoff game. But you had Stefanski win that award, then you had Joe Flacco win Comeback Player of the Year. It's not a bad I like Joe Flacco. It's not a bad candidate. Here's my gripe. Joe Flacco came back from being unemployed. Came back from nobody wanting him. Damar Hamlin came back from death. He was dead, and he played football again. I think Baker Mayfield is more worthy of winning the Comeback Player of the Award than Joe Flacco. Baker Mayfield, division title, great numbers, better numbers than Brady did the year before in the same team practically. Gonna have a big payday this offseason. Baker back doing ads again after everybody dropped him. Big man on campus. I just think he would have made sense. But Joe Flacco wins it. I'm not going to have too much of a gripe with this. But did I think it was wrong? Yeah, it was wrong. Kelsey and Andy Reid. Andy Reid's a great coach. He knew he needed Travis Kelsey, so he kept him on the field. And we've seen players lose it before. Travis does occasionally. But last night, to me, that was a step too far. That was unprofessional. It was uncalled for. He put his hands on his coach. You don't do that. When you're at a job, you don't get to put your hands on your boss. If you do, you go to jail. I'm not saying he assaulted Andy Reid, but do I think he should have done that to Andy Reid? I do not. If you're not familiar, Kansas City early second quarter had the ball inside the 10-yard line. Pacheco got it. He fumbled. San Francisco took possession. Travis Kelsey was not on the field. He was pissed. He felt he should have been. And he lost on Andy Reid. I think if Andy Reid was Belichick, Travis Kelsey wouldn't have played another snap. Because we don't know what happened with Malcolm Butler way back when. But whatever happened, Super Bowl week, Malcolm Butler played 2 snaps the entire game, and they were on special teams. Prior to that fact, he had played 90% of the snaps on the season at corner, and he did not play that position in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles, which the Patriots ended up losing, I might add. So I think Andy Reid looked around and went, Travis is my best option, and Travis was great in the second half. He was huge. They don't win without him. But it was just really classless. I could see dislike for Travis Kelce today. And maybe the Swifties are worried about Taylor, and maybe this is how he acts in the relationship. I don't know. But that, to me, that was a step too far. That's your coach. That's your boss. He's a big part of the reason why you're winning all these damn Super Bowls. And you go up there and shove him? He made a decision. Nobody shoved Pete Carroll when he decided to throw the ball at the 1 yard line against the Patriots. If there was any time to do it, it was then. Pete Carroll handed Tom Brady another Super Bowl. Hit another one to the Patriots. It's the dumbest decision in Super Bowl history, bar none. Nobody did. Richard Sherman, who's the biggest hothead maybe to ever play the game, he stayed composed enough. He didn't go run at Pete. He didn't lose his mind. He could have handled that differently. Go talk to him. Bring him over. Talk to him on the bench. But getting in his face the second after a fumble doesn't look good with his teammates saying, oh, I have to be on the field. They're the ones making the mistakes. It's just an arrogant way to approach the situation. And I didn't like it. I thought it was pretty classless from Travis Kelce, quite frankly. I have no problem with Travis. I think he's the best tight end to ever do it. What he's done, he's got the most receptions in postseason history. 3 Super Bowls now. Shannon Sharp calling him the best tight end ever. Trying to think any other notes from the game before we pivot to different things. I couldn't believe this, that Jake Moody and then Harrison Butker both set records for the longest field goal in Super Bowl history. For 57 Super Bowls, there are only 7 kicks of over 50 yards, which is staggering. No wonder teams hate kickers, that they can't make that. Last night, Moody made 2 field goals over 50, and Butker made the longest one of the night at 57. He could have kicked that one from 66. That was a missile. Jake Moody did miss an extra point, but he made 2 field goals in his first career Super Bowl. Rookie out of Michigan. Good on him. I bet on him to at least miss a field goal. He did not. I also bet last night Isaiah Pacheco anytime touchdown. He failed there. I had McCaffrey anytime touchdown. That cashed. Mahomes went over passing yards. Did not see that, but of course, I bet against Mahomes. I deserve that. I did have the Chiefs plus 2.5, and they won the game by 3. The halftime show. I won't do 20 minutes on this, but that halftime show last night was truly dreadful. I did not have high hopes going in. People were excited. I think primarily women were excited. The exact words I got from a woman who might have been my mother said he can dance, he's a good performer, which she wasn't wrong. But I know music. Now, do I think I know the better types of music? I do. That's my opinion, but I listened to a lot of great music growing up with my father on boats, on long drives, listening to 80s on 8. And after about 10 years of absorbing that, you kind of learn this is pretty damn good music. You couldn't hear him. His mic was too low. He cared more about the dancing than the actual performance. I knew one song. I thought the first 10 seconds were cool with it looked like it was going to be a circus clown act, which I thought that's about right. But then after they went away, Alicia Keys and him, I didn't know, I looked this up after. Alicia Keys is married to somebody by the name of Swizz Beatz. Never heard of that, don't know who that is. But if I'm Mr. Swizz Beatz, I'm like, get your hands off my woman. But the music sucked. He cared too much about the dancing. You couldn't hear him. Said this last night, that performance would have been better at the Rip joint down the road on the Strip than at the Super Bowl halftime show. But I saw people on Twitter were loving it, so maybe I'm wrong. I'm not, but I will say a lot of the people that said it was great normally say it's great when it's a certain group that they're a part of, which I don't understand. But I won't get into too much of that because that can get complicated, but just an observation. Just an observation. To me, if you're bad, you're bad. I don't care. White, black, yellow, purple. You're bad, it was bad. Period. But thank God for Lil Jon. That's all I gotta say. I was thrilled to see Lil Jon. Like him, like his music. He should have stayed on longer. I learned Ludacris. I knew Ludacris. He came out. I think he had a tube on. Hair didn't look real anyway. There's some reckless speculation. Some chick was playing, pretending to play the guitar for a rift. Don't know who that was. But it was long. And the game went long. And it was bad. It was bad. Let's just be honest here. I think what I'd say is women probably loved it. Just like I think men like it when Beyonce, I will say Beyonce actually has talent, so there's there's a difference there. But I saw Beyonce in the crowd and I said, God, she can't come down, play a set. For anybody else? Bueller. Bieber didn't come perform with Usher. Discovered him. Gave him the snub. But yeah, I won't go too much longer in the halftime show. But it was. I was happy I had the sound on so I could absorb that and really just witness the train wreck that it was. Because otherwise, if I wasn't watching with people, it would have been on mute and I wouldn't have known. And I also got to hear Tony Romo go, Tony! He's freaking out last night, making some interesting lines. But the NFL preseason starts in August. The countdown is on. But we got free agency coming up, not too far away, March 15th, a little over a month. Some big players on the move. Bears have the first pick in the draft. What happens with Justin Fields? So things will be happening relatively quickly. So looking forward to that for sure. Also this weekend in news, this is college, but also NFL ties. Bill O'Brien was going to be the offensive coordinator for the Ohio State Buckeyes. He's leaving Ohio State to become the head coach at Boston College. Boston College head coach departed BC to become the defensive coordinator with the Green Bay Packers. So Bill O'Brien gets to go back to New England, the Boston area, coach for Boston College. Probably a dream come true job for him. And then Ohio State needs a new offensive coordinator. They need somebody with cachet. Chip Kelly who is the head coach at UCLA, leaves the Bruins to become the offensive coordinator at Ohio State. It's a step down technically, but at the same time, being offensive coordinator at Ohio State is a prestigious job. You'll be working with talent that'll be going to the NFL. You'll get some cachet if you can help Ryan Day get over the hump, beat Michigan, get to the college football playoff, win the national championship. Be more pressure than ever after seeing Michigan win it this year. So he becomes the offensive coordinator at the Ohio State. But interesting decisions for her, for sure, from Chip Kelly. Let's pivot to hockey. Saturday night, I'm bouncing around. I watched the Florida Panthers completely just decimate the Colorado Avalanche. Colorado's been horrible since the All-Star break. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Florida dominates. Sam Reinhart gets another power play goal. And which is now 21 on the season. And I'm watching the Leafs play the Senators. And I wasn't that thrilled about the game because it's the Leafs Senators and, it is what it is. But I'm watching and it's going about how every kind of Leafs Sens game go. Both teams, bad goaltending, bad defensive play. And Toronto's defense is just dreadful at parts of the game. Not putting good coverage. Allowing guys to get behind them, get in good scoring positions. And Ottawa does have some shooters. So they take advantage of that fact. It's 4-3. Leafs have pulled the goalie, hoping to tie the game up late, at least get a point. But puck's cleared. Ridley Gregg goes in on an empty net. About a foot away from the net, he takes a slap shot, much to the chagrin of Morgan Reilly. Morgan Reilly then comes over, stick high, and gets him square in the head. No deflection, didn't hit his shoulder. It was first contact was to the head. Ridley Gregg goes down. He wasn't hurt. He sold it. But it's not about the extent of the injury. It was about the intent of the play, and the intent of the play was from Morgan Reilly to put a beating on Ridley Gregg. So 7 seconds left, doesn't matter. It takes forever to figure out what's happening. Morgan Reilly gets assessed a match penalty, and we now learned that he'll be meeting with the Department of Player Safety tomorrow afternoon in New York. So it's an in-person hearing, so he can get up to 6 games worthy of a suspension. There's a lot to unpack here. First things first. I don't hate what Morgan Reilly did. The Toronto Maple Leafs have been a team that has had no emotion for years. Their superstars are all the same, mild-mannered, not tough. Matthews avoids a scrum like he avoids, cholera. And they just go about their business. It can be easy argument that the team doesn't care, doesn't seem to put an emphasis on being a tough team, on at least expressing some emotion that you're engaged in the game. That might sound unfair. I don't care. It is what it is. I watch the games. I dissect them. But Morgan Reilly, enough's enough. He's had a very productive season to this point on a very average team. on a team that defends horribly. And you might look at them and say they should be better, which they should be. And they're not. So he sees a young kid who's kind of morphing into a new age version of a pest. Take a clapper at an empty net, and he gives him a shiver for his troubles. I like that he did something. Again, it shouldn't have to be Morgan Reilly, but he did it. If he hits Ridley Gregg right here, if you're watching, if he hits him in the shoulder, it's a penalty, but it's not a fine. It's not even discussion of a suspension. And it's something that the whole Leafs fan base can be excited over. Because our de facto captain, the guy who I thought should have been the captain long ago, just stood up for our team. He's tired of this bullshit, our shitty defending, our shitty goaltending, we just don't pay any attention to detail. He's had enough. And he did something. He's not going to take that against some prick Ottawa team that stinks. But he's got to be in some kind of control in that moment and know you don't hit him in the head. That was the mistake. Now, I also heard this argument. Well, Ridley Gregg shouldn't have done that. That was not classy. I don't agree with that argument. What's classy? What's classy? Rolling the puck in? What's classy? Just missing the net on purpose because there's 7 seconds left? Ridley Gregg has a free lane, empty net. He can do whatever the hell he wants. He didn't hit anybody. He didn't fire it at a goalie. He didn't flip off a fan. He put a puck into the empty net, and Morgan Reilly didn't like it, which I don't blame either. But did Ridley Gregg do anything wrong? Absolutely not. You don't like the fact that he scored a goal with you on 7 seconds left? Then don't let him. Don't give up 5 goals a night. How's that a thought for the Toronto Maple Leafs? Don't do that. But he wasn't classy. He didn't handle it the right way. What's handling anything the right way? And who gets to decide that? The moral high ground of society? I don't want to be involved with those people. I hate those fucking people. Oh, we're better than you. Oh, I'd never act like that in this type of situation. Spare me. Spare me with that. Players used to spit on one another. There used to be greasy stuff that happened in the game. Nothing happens anymore. He shot a puck into the empty net. They used to fire pucks at the opposing team's bench back in the day. Ryan Reeves today, so if he would have did that in my day, he'd still be laying on the ice. You started playing in 2010, big boy. No, he wouldn't have. Nothing would have happened. 2010? What was happening in 2010? The game wasn't that physical in 2010. It's been like this for a hot minute. So Ridley Gregg, did he have to take a slap shot? No. But I'll tell you, he doesn't have a concussion. He was on the ice at practice this morning. Morgan Reilly's going to get suspended for an indefinite period of time. I think Ridley Gregg taking the slap shot won that little joust, won that tete-a-tete with the Toronto Maple Leafs. So there's 1-0 against the moral high ground, or the unclassy crowd, which is Leafs fans who need to get their stick out of their ass. Oh, that was so uncalled for in that moment. Give your fucking head a shake. It's a game. You can do whatever the hell you want. Again, think about this. Think about how childish this is. It's like having 2 cookies and not sharing one with your sibling. You're going to eat the... We're upset, and we feel we need vindication because he took a shot at an empty net. But that wasn't classy. What if he went bar down with a wrist shot. Would that have been classy? Would he be okay with that then? If Austin Matthews did this, this would not even be a topic of conversation. But because it's happened to the Leafs, a franchise with no history of winning since 1967, a history of bitching, complaining, and getting coverage for no damn reason, that's all they've done over the course of my lifetime. That's all the Leafs do. They major in complaining, in saying, oh, poor me, in saying, oh, this wasn't classy. Oh, we don't have puck luck. Ridley Gregg was playing chess while the Maple Leafs and their fan base were playing checkers. Crying, bitching, moaning about what happened, which nothing happened. You don't want him to take a slap shot in an empty net? Don't let him. Don't let him exit the zone, Morgan Reilly. I had to say that because it's ridiculous that, oh, it wasn't classy. Spare me the classy. Ugh, moral high ground people. The worst kind. Now, how many games should Morgan Reilly get? If it was up to me, he wouldn't get more than 2. 1, 2. Is he going to get 1 or 2 games? No. But the NHL's got a problem here. NHL player safety, George Parros. Brendan Gallagher has thrown the dirtiest hit of this NHL season by far. Remember that hit? It was against the Islanders. I think it was on Ryan Pulock of the New York Islanders. Elbow, right to the head. Deliberate, late. Was a Matt Cook special. And he got 5 games. Should have been more than 5 games. I think it should have been closer to 10. Gallagher's got a history. To me, he's a dirty player. He's a rat. Doesn't fight when he does stuff like this. You know, he's a poor man's Matt Cook, is what he is. Small man's Matt Cook. He only got 5 games. But then David Perron, after seeing a teammate in Dylan Larkin get chopped to the ground in a dirty scenario against Ottawa, goes and takes his stick, cross-check to the head. He gets 6 games. David Perron had never been fined. He had never been suspended. He had never missed a game in his career because of disciplinary issues. And he got 6 games. Morgan Reilly did the exact same thing on Saturday night. He took his stick and he hit the guy in the head with the intent to injure him. So in saying that, while I think Morgan Reilly should only get 1 or 2 games, he's going to get 5 or 6. And I'm going to predict 6. Because of the Perron situation and how similar it is. Perron acted in retaliation, in vengeance to seeing his player go down. Reilly acted in vengeance to seeing Ridley Gregg be not so classy. LOL. And he decided to do something about it. So 2 guys reacting to situations that they did not find favorable, taking their stick, hitting a guy in the head. Clean swipe to the head. If Perron, who had never been suspended, never been fined, had gotten 6, Morgan Reilly, never been fined, never been suspended, is likely going to get 6 too. But to me, they're setting a precedent that doesn't make any sense. Perron and Reilly, not as bad, and they're going to get more games than Brendan Gallagher. I don't understand it. I just think you've got to have some consistency. Have something, George Parros. But I don't think they will. They've been doing this for a long time. I guess tonight this many games tonight this. There's no set rules. They just do. They go, we'll figure it out on the fly. But Morgan Reilly was less about Ridley Gregg and more about the team. That's just the way it works. Just the way that it seems to happen. He's sick of their team. He's sick of the way they play. And he did something about it. I like the sentiment. I like the feeling. Getting 5 or 6 games, not worth it for Morgan Reilly. In particular, when you look at today, I mean, this is quite something. The practice lines today for Toronto, I believe Mark Masters had this. I'm going to try to find it for you all. Let's see. I believe he had it today, but it's a weak group. Defense pairings for tomorrow night may be Brody Liljegren, woof, McCabe Benoit, and Lagesson and Giordano. I mean, Benoit's their second best defenseman. And thank God for Benoit. He plays his heart out every night. He'll be playing 25 minutes tomorrow night with McCabe. I mean, McCabe's getting power play minutes. He's played 7 minutes all season on the power play. He was on PP1 at practice today. Just shows you lose Morgan, how bad that defense core is. That's ugly. They needed to trade for a defenseman yesterday. If they learn tomorrow they're losing Morgan Reilly for 5 to 6 games, which I think they will, Toronto Maple Leafs will miss him. This will be the games that he will not be, if it's 6. He'll be unavailable tomorrow night home to St. Louis. Thursday hosting Philly. Saturday host the Ducks. Monday afternoon at the Blues. Wednesday at the Desert. Thursday at Vegas. Their next 5 games, that's an easy stretch. All teams that really aren't. Blues are kind of in the playoff mix. They're lurking. But they won't get an easier stretch down the rest of the season than that. But they still have to play well because the Red Wings are tied with them in points. Red Wings have played one more game, but they have more wins than the Maple Leafs do, the Red Wings. Tampa's played 3 more games. They got 1 more point. But again, games in hand are only worth something if you win them. Florida leads the Maple Leafs by 10 points. Florida now only trails the Boston Bruins by 3. They're going to pass them. It was the decision he felt he had to make, Morgan Reilly. I just think he went about it the wrong way. Keep that stick down. You're fine. You're in the clear. No suspension. Bob's your uncle. You move on. But he didn't do it, and now here we are. In a tricky spot. I think it's going to be bad news for the Maple Leafs tomorrow afternoon. If they have to go to 6 games without him with that defense core, the pressure will be on him to make a move for a defenseman sooner rather than later. Open up the market and make something happen. Because they need it. Because they either win 5-4 or they're going to lose. They give up 4 goals a game. Just happens. They don't defend. They don't get good goaltending. It's a shaky-ass team. I mentioned Florida. They're a well-oiled machine. They got a 3-pack now with Verhage, who's been nobody could have predicted he'd be this good. Like a multiple time, he's going to score 40 goals again this year. Great shot, great release, excellent on the power play. You have Sam Reinhart, 39 goals, 21 of them on the power play. Then you have my guy Matthew Tkachuk. Tkachuk had a slow start. He's starting to come on. Even Sasha Barkov starting to play. But that team's healthy. They played together for a month or so with no interruption. Bobrovsky's played a lot of hockey this year because Spencer Knight's still in the American League. But the way they play, how physical they are, erasing neutral zone chances, I don't want to play them. I have no interest in playing them. Because I think they can beat Boston. I think they can beat the Toronto Maple Leafs quite easily. They're just going to wear teams down, and they're fast. Ekblad, Montour. Ekman Larsson's been a great find. He's played well in Florida. Good on him. Goaltender last year proved he can play in the playoffs. Florida could get back to the Stanley Cup final. Wouldn't stun me. Because I like them more than I like any team in the Central. Sorry, in the Metro. I do. Even the Rangers, who've been great post All-Star break and had a great start. Panarin's been great. And Lafreniere's been pretty good this year. And Jonathan Quick for $1 million has been probably the best backup goaltender in the whole damn league. I still think Florida's Rangers are small. They didn't address that. Shesterkin's great, but they don't win with them. I have more faith in the Florida Panthers. They would scare me. You have the Flames and Rangers tonight at MSG. Flames have won 5 in a row. Crushed the Islanders over the weekend. Mackenzie Weegar got a hat trick. He now leads NHL in goals by a defenseman with 15. And who would have known he's the best signing by far of the trio of Huberdeau, Kadri, and Weegar? He's been great for the Flames. Moves the puck well all over the ice. But they've won 5 in a row. You've traded Zadorov already. You traded Lindholm. Entering this evening, the Flames are 3 points out of a playoff spot, trailing the Blues and the Los Angeles Kings. For Craig Conroy, this doesn't change my opinion. This doesn't change my plan. We are going to be sellers. We are trading Noah Hannafin to the highest bidder. We're trading Chris Tanev to a desperate team that needs a defenseman. I will explore Markstrom trades if New Jersey's willing to give up the world for him, but New Jersey is getting to the point where they need to start winning now, or they're not going to be in the mix. Quite frankly, New Jersey trails the Philadelphia Flyers by 8 points in the standings. They trail Detroit by 6 points. They got to find it quick. Injuries all year. They've been in tough, but they need to find their game. They home to the Kraken tonight. That has to be a victory. But the Flyers have not lost post All-Star break. No Carter Hart. Oh, he's dealing with the World Junior situation. Doesn't matter. Samuel Eriksson, rock solid. Travis Konechny, Gordie Howe hat trick Saturday afternoon. That kid's just a gamer. They're at the point now where I think they're going to be pissed. They're going to make the playoffs, and they don't want to make the playoffs. They want to trade things. I'd want to trade Konechny, see if we can get for him a ton. If I was Philly, I'd still run with that plan. Because it's about the long term. It's not just about this year. The Flyers without a goaltender are not good enough to win a Stanley Cup. Making the playoffs might be a great thing for the fans, but I think they'd rather see a consistent winner. You're not going to get that in Philly. But if you keep winning, it becomes interesting, that's for sure. We have those games. We also have Minnesota in Vegas tonight. Minnesota's won 6 of 7. Vegas also has not lost post All-Star break as well. So some good games on tap tonight in the National Hockey League. We'll await news on the Morgan Reilly suspension tomorrow. Waste Management Open. My favorite tournament of the year. The crowd in Arizona. The craziness of it. 2 straight years, Scottie Scheffler, the world number 1, won this event. And he was in contention after having a great end of his 3rd round Sunday morning. You pivot into the 4th round. He goes 5 under through 5 holes. Took the lead, surpassing Sahith Theegala, Nick Taylor. Then you had just under the radar Charlie Hoffman, 47 years old, had not won a tournament since 2016. It was rumored he was going to lead the PGA Tour for LIV when his buddy Phil Mickelson left, but he never did. And all of a sudden, he's 4 under through his first 9. Picks up an eagle on 13. Birdies 15. And he caps off his day at minus 21. Scheffler then misses 2 easy putts for birdie from about 4 feet out. Bogeys twice, and Scottie Scheffler's out of it. He is not going to three-peat as the Waste Management champion. But the man who was still in command, still had a chance, was Canada's own Nick Taylor, who won with that 78-foot putt at the RBC Canadian Open last year. A clutch putter. And going into 16, the par 3 16th, he's down by 2 strokes. 16's little 3-iron to about 6 feet out, birdies the hole. Beautiful shot. 17, par. Then on the 18th, not a great drive. Saves it, puts it in the fairway, puts it into about 10 feet in a tough putt downhill. He sneaks it home and forces a playoff with Charlie Hoffman. They both birdie the first playoff hole. It just crazy. It was great theater. And we're flipping back and forth watching golf and watching the Super Bowl at the same time. Nick Taylor's second shot, pretty beautiful shot, gets it within distance of a decent birdie. Hoffman's a little farther away after he puts it in the rough. And he misses his birdie chance. It was a good putt, but it misses a little bit to the right. And Nick Taylor, who has ice in his veins, is a clutch putter in the big situations, makes another birdie. Birdie 16, birdie 18, birdied playoff hole 1, birdie playoff hole 2. 2 of his 4 PGA Tour wins have come via a playoff. He's now won the Waste Management. He's won the RBC Canadian Open. He's won a tournament at Pebble Beach. So all of a sudden you look around and you go, he's got a pretty impressive resume. With the win, he's now 6 in the FedEx Cup standings. Eligible, keep your tour card for a long time. Makes $2 million with that win yesterday. Seeing guys like Rahm and Phil and the Scottish Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau go to LIV have helped guys like Nick Taylor. He's a great player to begin with, but they're not in the field. It helps you get some notoriety, have opportunities to come up big in these situations. He finished second to Scottie Scheffler last year. He was close to winning, came up short. But then this season, he finds a way. He was not going to be stopped. Charlie Hoffman had the best round he's ever had in years. He said 47 years old, still doing it on the PGA Tour, still being in the mix. But Nick Taylor's putting was just too damn good. Just having the spotlight, having the opportunity. Now winning 2 times in 6 months on the PGA Tour. He's a very good player. And I think for Canada Golf to be put back, they're on the map for sure because Corey Connors is a good player. People know who he is. Nick Taylor's won 2 PGA Tour tournaments in the last number of months. Taylor Pendrith, a good golfer. Adam Svensson, another good golfer. And they normally make the PGA Tour playoff at East Lake. But to be in a major, to be there on a Sunday, to potentially win one, if Nick Taylor's or Corey Connors could do it, I think it really puts Golf Canada back on the map and have people look around going, okay, wow, these guys are pretty good. These guys can do some damage. Nick Taylor is a tough guy to deal with. If you do it in a major, you beat Tiger, you beat Jon Rahm, you beat Brooks Koepka. Beat the LIV guys, you beat the PGA Tour guys, you are regarded as one of the best golfers in the world, period. The way Nick Taylor putts, he could be a threat at Augusta. I look at that as his tournament because you have to be a good putter to win at Augusta. It's what made Tiger Woods so special for the longest time. Nick Taylor has that. Ice in the veins, he just can knock him down. Any big moment you need him to make one, he seems to find a way to do it. He'll roll in. I mean, the pressure at the RBC Canadian Open to win at home. Then yesterday, he lives in Arizona now. So you could say it's another one of his home tournaments, and he wins it again. You parlay that, and you go, okay, we got Riviera coming up this week. So, interesting stuff. Congrats to Nick Taylor. Scottie Scheffler finishes tied for third. Charlie Hoffman, so close to winning his first tournament since 2016. Likely his last chance to do it at his age and just what happens here. But on Thursday, the start of Riviera, Tiger Woods will be on the course. Max Homa's home course. He won it last year. The big names will be out. They go from Arizona to California. So this is another great event. Great course. The allure of Tiger is there. So you got Genesis Riviera. Then after a couple weeks, you got Arnold Palmer in Orlando. The Players' Championship the weekend after. If you think about it, we are less than 2 months to Augusta. The Masters starts on April 11th, and it's March, what is it today? February 12th. Wow. It'll be here before we know it, that's for sure. But interesting stuff. Congrats to Nick Taylor as he wins his 4th career PGA Tour championship. News from the NFL, Adam Schefter. Steelers announced they have released quarterback Mitch Trubisky. Was the first quarterback taken in the 2017 NFL Draft. Bears traded up to take him. The second quarterback taken in that draft, 10th overall. Do you remember who it was? It was a guy by the name of Patrick Mahomes. He has 3 Super Bowl victories. But Mitch Trubisky, officially a free agent, did not play well this season for the Steelers when he got a chance. He got benched for Mason Rudolph. I don't know if we see Mitch again. Maybe. He looked rough when he was out there. Maybe he's a third string quarterback somewhere, but I don't think he's a backup anymore myself. We'll see, but Mitch Trubisky, officially a free agent as things start to unfold here. But interesting stuff regardless as we head towards the offseason, and it starts with Mr. Mitch Trubisky being released. Also this weekend, UFC card at the Apex. Wasn't a great event, to be honest. Michael Johnson, the veteran, comes back with a victory over Darius Flowers. Good to see him win. Gregory Rodriguez, Brad Tavares, fun fight between two veteran middleweights. Rodriguez has been on a tear. Third round barrage of punches, knockout on the feet of Tavares. Big win for him. He wants a name in his next fight. This one I didn't have. Dan 50K Ige. Anytime he fights somebody that is not ranked, he seems to find a way to win. He knocked out Andre Fili with a brutal 1-2, nasty knockout. He kind of finds a way in the featherweight division. Finds a way to remain relevant, remain ranked. Looking at him, he's a fun fighter. He's a great striker. He's currently 13th in the rankings. He was scheduled to fight Laurent Murphy, and Laurent Murphy obviously could not go. I'd be down for them rematching because I think Laurent's a really good fighter. Dan Ige, tough veteran. Sadiq Youssef is there, but I believe he's scheduled. He's got a fight coming up against Diego Lopez, so that won't be there. Edson Barbosa, the veteran, does not have a fight booked, but Barbosa, I think he'll want to fight somebody higher in the rankings. He said that actually after his last fight, maybe Bryce Mitchell would work for him, maybe Giga Chidise. But Dan Ige, Laurent Murphy, that could be fun, but good for Dan Ige. And then the main event, this was a stunner. Jack Hermanson, who had not fought in a minute, over a year, comes back to face Joe Pyfer, undefeated in the UFC, the next great middleweight prospect, if you will. First two rounds, dominated by Joe Pyfer. Control, pace, big shots to the body, landing shots. But towards the end of the second round, Jack Hermanson started to figure him out, started to move a little bit more, having a high guard, not allowing shots to get through, and he started to beat the hell out of Joey's legs. Third round, he gets the jab working, landing combinations, keeping himself close to Joe Pyfer, limiting the space. Again, leg kicks, attacking the calf, attacking the front of that leg. The lead leg, and a compromise. Joe could not move well, and Hermanson's boxing was on point. He didn't have to go to the ground, didn't have to wrestle, which was crazy, which I thought would have been his game plan, but he did without it. I saw him have a tat-a-tat with Sean Strickland back, and it didn't go well for him. But, I mean, Sean Strickland's a damn good boxer. We know that. And clearly he's better than Joe Pyfer. And Pyfer wins the first two rounds. Hermanson wins the next three. Comes from 2-0 down, Francis Ngannou-like against Cyril Gane. Wins the next three rounds. And Jack Hermanson, over a year being away from the fight game, gets the victory. Joe Pyfer said he thought he lost. He said he deserved to win. He said that Hermanson deserved to win. He had made some mistakes in the fight. He'd have to correct them. But I think you look at this, they gave Pyfer Jack Hermanson, who's 11th. That would have given him just outside the top 10 with the victory. That would have been a big deal for Joe. But he loses the fight. Credit to Hermanson, tough son of a bitch, took the fight against a guy who's not even in the top 15, wins the fight, over a year off, dealt with an injury, comes back, veteran of the game, and he calls for a fight with Nasruddin Imavov, which I'm all for. I think that's fine. Imavov is a lot like Joe Pyfer. They're built the same. He'll have the same kind of height discrepancy that he'll have to deal with against Imavov. If you look around, Imavov likely will want somebody higher than that, but other than Jared Cannonier, there's not really a fight that makes a whole lot of sense. But good for Jack. Called for the fight, gets the victory, beats Joe Pyfer, one of the top prospects in the middleweight division. I think Joe will be back. He is good, but he's a cocky guy. Was on Rogan a couple weeks ago calling out Charles Oliveira, saying he's not all that good. Well, Charles Oliveira is a two-time champion in the UFC. Has beaten Israel Adesanya, beaten Jan Blachowicz, beaten Yuri Prohaska. I mean, he's done it all. But I didn't see that coming. Huge upset. This week, it is a pay-per-view fight week. Anaheim, California. Main event, Ilia Topuria, Alexander the Great Volkanovski. Ilya's been talking a lot of shit. These two guys do not like one another. There is some bad blood. And I can't wait for it. Volkanovski's 35. You think he's getting old? Can he come back from getting the head kick KO against Islam Makhachev in October? Ilia Topuria undefeated as a professional, coming off a big win over Josh Emmett last June. He is great. The way he strikes, the way his body moves, he is a threat to everybody at featherweight. But Alex Volkanovski is so good at that weight class. Has beaten Max Holloway 3 times, beaten Yair Rodriguez, beaten Brian Ortega. You name it. Calvin Kattar. He's been through all of these. I think it's going to be a war, fun fight. Can't wait. Old dog and the young pup. Let's see what happens. Ian Machado Gary was supposed to fight in December. Had to pull out because of pneumonia. He gets Jeff Neal this coming weekend. Again, a guy who talks a lot of shit, involved with media. He's in it. Paulo Costa has not fought since August of 2022. He returns in the co-main event against former middleweight champion of the world, Robert Whittaker. Whittaker coming off that brutal loss to now middleweight champion Dricus du Plessis. Two big dudes, two guys that like to square up. Should be a fun 3-round fight at middleweight. Henry Cejudo against Merab Dvalishvili at bantamweight. In this one, Merab just attacks you. If Merab wins this fight, he will be the number 1 contender for Sean O'Malley or Chito Vera, whoever wins in the main event on March 9th at UFC 299. If Cejudo loses also, I think Cejudo is going to retire in the cage like he was going to do in Boston until he changed his mind. Cejudo has fired his head coach prior to this fight. He's changing his team in order for this training camp, getting ready to prepare. His head coach, Captain Eric, who's been with him since he was in the Olympics, winning gold medals, dumps him. So drama there. And I think Merab's just so great at 135. And you also get Roman Kopylov and Alexander Fluffy Hernandez to open up the. It's a great main card. You have that main card. You have a great main card at UFC 299 in March. That's less than a month away. So great theater coming up in mixed martial. Also, a week from Saturday, you get a Bellator versus PFL card that should be fantastic as well. So all of that forthcoming. We'll discuss the Reilly suspension later in the week. Any NFL news. We'll get NBA All-Star Weekend is coming up in Indianapolis. So that's in a few days. NFL season's over, but I love talking about it with all of you. Hope you guys enjoyed the coverage. It's always fantastic that I get to share this medium with you all. But we're still got lots to talk about. To the point, still rolling along. So stay tuned for the coverage as we move forward here. Until next time, I'm Noah Warren, and this is To The Point.